What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back again with another post-game live stream as Spurs drew yesterday in the Arctic Circle away to Bodø 2-2. Coming back from 2 goals down, the second time in, 3 games we've come back, or 4 games we've come back from 2-0 down to claim a point. Good mentality shown, but some still clear problems we got to sort out. To talk through everything, we've got Amir, who's out in Toulouse at the moment. He's made his move. Amir, nice to see you, man. How you watched the game yesterday?
Oh, of course. You know, even though I'm now over in France, there's nothing will stop me from watching the Spurs.
And were you getting as frustrated as a lot of the fans over here were watching that game, especially for the first hour or so?
Mate, that first half hour was some of the worst football I've seen from Spurs in a very, very, very long time. We were just so blunt up front, doing nothing, lethargic. It really worried me, actually. That performance really, really worried me. Of course, there are positives to take, right? We didn't come away with any injuries, and we did manage to sneak a point, you know, right at the end. But a lot more things to be worrisome about than positives, I think, with that kind of performance out there.
Yeah, I mean, after the game, a lot of people pointing fingers at a lot of different things. You know, was the lineup changed too much? Is it not is it Frank himself, his approach that is causing the problems? Is it Tottenham underestimating Bodo on the day? You know, after we beat them comfortably last season in the Europa League semi-final. There's a lot of people giving a lot of reasons, excuses, or blame to be led. Like, when you look at kind of what you saw yesterday, where were you kind of most frustrated? Did you feel like if Frank didn't rest the likes of Chavy, Kudus, Palinia, was that the crux of it? Was it just a case of, you know, we had a team out there that should be good enough to win, regardless of kind of rested players on the bench? You know, you look at the starting 11, not too dissimilar to the team we went to Bodo with last season and won comfortably. So should that team be good enough to win anyway? And how much a worry is it, you know, that we didn't create anything until like Kudus came on, really, and on the hour mark?
So yeah, there's a couple of things to pick apart there, Sim. I personally, I do think Frank got the team selection a bit wrong. I think this is one of those games where you actually you play your strongest team, you go ahead, you get the first goal, the second will come. With the team he put out there, we should still get 3 points with that team that was out there, but you know, a mix of the players not being able to link up properly, not understanding, you know, kind of attacking plays. We were just so blunt. And then to add into it, the kind of, you know, you think about the Richie chance early on. I mean, any striker worth his salt, right foot, left foot, you're just smashing that ball and it's a goal. Like,
I've watched it back. I don't know what he's trying. Is he trying to take a touch? I don't know what he's trying.
Mate, I think he was in his own world for that one, to be honest with you. I mean, any striker worth his salt is putting that in the back of the net. So I think it's a combination of Frank choosing the wrong players and then the players not really rising to the occasion. You know, was it a bit of complacency? Maybe, because, you know, in the back of our minds, we beat these guys, you know, in the semi-final, we should, you know, roll them over again. But I actually thought, you know, huge credit to Bodo. The way they played was fantastic. It was everything they were doing were the things that we should have been doing. You know, taking shots, popping shots, getting lots of players into the attack.
The way they keep the ball and they pass it around, and you see when they're in the on the edge of our area, and the passes they're able to pick out, and the way they protect the ball, they create chances, they create shooting opportunities for their teammates. It was night and day compared to what we were offering. And you know, you consider their resources, how much, you know, money is available to them. I understand their journey, and they're kind of an unbelievable kind of miracle club, the way they've come to where they are now, which is Champions League football. You know, every year they seem to be improving, and you know, they've taken kind of everyone in Europe by surprise by how good they've been in European football, in Europa League, Conference League, and now Champions League. You know, started off with 2 points in their first 2 games. They've done quite well for a club of their size. But how a club and a team with their resources can have more technical players than us. What it seemed to me anyway, on the evidence I'm seeing yesterday, their team was more technical than our team. How can they have more technical players than what we have when our players like Brennan, Odebear even, they're costing tens and tens of millions. Brennan probably costs more than their whole team combined alone. I don't know for that for sure, but I'll predict Brennan probably costs more than their whole team combined, probably by even a lot, I would say. Because Bodo don't exactly have a big transfer budget. I don't think they're spending big money on players. Like, all their players are probably in the low millions, I would assume. They do everything with a process of their coach has been there for 7 years. He's developed this way of playing. Obviously, they clearly have good coaching staff. They develop their players technically. But it's crazy what I was seeing yesterday. I understand it's a 4G pitch and all these different things. There's all these excuses you can give. But I'm just forget quality of play. I'm looking at the way they're playing and the technical ability they're showing. Tight spaces, keeping the ball away from our players, dribbling in tight spaces in the box, getting shots off. Look at the second goal they scored. That guy, Hauger, dribbling past Porro and just firing it into the corner. Like, none of our players offered anywhere near the technical ability I was seeing yesterday from the Bodo players. And how was that possible?
It's a really good question, Sim. It's a really good question. It's one that I'm a bit dumbfounded by because, football for me is quite a simple game. It's not too complicated, and Bodo showed us that yesterday with the way they played. You get bodies forward, you get men around the box, you pop shots around, you become a threat going forward. Everything that we weren't, and I don't really have an answer for why. We were so poor. It doesn't really add up when you look at the quality we kind of have, and especially with we think about some of the performances we had this season. Beating City 2-0 away, and then going to Bodo and going 2-0 down. It just, things don't quite add up. I'm a little bit worried that there's certain players there that maybe aren't as motivated as maybe they should be. They get a chance in a Champions League game and they squander it. Really, they don't do anything. I'm looking at fringe players to come in these kind of games and prove that they want that starting place in the week in, week out. And I didn't see anyone trying to really grab that starting place in the team. And I am really worried about Frank's selections because I do think he's got it wrong in quite a few games, and I think that it's cost us. It's cost us. For me, I was kind of at half an hour into that game, I was screaming to make changes, to do something, to stick another body up top, to even get another person in midfield, get Kudus on, get Chavy on, and it took him, what was it, till 58th minute to make a first sub.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, it took to the 60th minute. It was, and by that point, I think we were 2-0 down, were we? Or was it I think we just went 2-0 down a bit after we made all the substitutions. But it was the goal had been coming, hadn't it?
Of course it had. Yeah, you could see it coming.
It was only a matter of time. Frank, after the game, was asked. He was asked, was the plan part of the plan to sit back and counter? And he said, yeah, that was part of the plan. Obviously, also part of the plan was when we can to when we're able to press high and put them under a bit of pressure, but we weren't able to really do that on enough occasions, and we weren't able to find enough moments. But I don't know. I feel like should that be the plan? I understand Bodo are clearly good technical side, good attacking side. And maybe we felt if we just sat back, countered, and exploited their weakness, exploited their gaps they left, that would be the best approach. But it seems like we just gave them way too much encouragement.
But then, Sim, if you're going to do that, yeah, why in the world would you not have Kudus on the pitch from the start? If that's because that's what Kudus can do.
Yeah,
literally drag you up the pitch. So why not? So Frank's telling me one thing, and then he's making a mistake with the selection with another thing. And I don't want to be too harsh, you know. Like I think Frank has a good start to his Tottenham tenure, but I I think it's a very very fast learning curve at the top, and he needs to start getting the team selections right week in week out, whether that's cup games, whether it's Premier League. Because we need to be competing on all fronts.
And I think if you I think kind of if you look at the average positions of both teams, I think it kind of tells a bit of a story of what I'm talking about when it comes to how Bodo are able to play the kind of football they were yesterday. Yet when it seemed that we were attacking, it seemed as though we weren't able to create any similar opportunities. Bring on the average position. So this is the average positions of yesterday. So Bodo, obviously you can see the arrow going downwards, Spurs going up. Now, if you look at the Bodo, look how close all the attackers are together.
Yeah.
Look how they're able to get players near each other, play little passing triangles, get when they support each other, essentially when they're going forward, and they're able to kind of connect the play. You saw when they were in and around our penalty area, they were able to get little passes, get little shots off, just linking play, simple stuff. Then you look at our kind of average position. Now look how isolated Richarlison was. Look, he's nowhere near everyone. Odeberg as well, off the left-hand side, very far away kind of from all our kind of other attackers. Everyone was so deep. Everyone was kind of not getting forward. Brennan Johnson's average position was in our own half.
And he should be up in the corner. He should be up right at the top of the pitch. If you're going to counter, you need players that are going to spread the play and going to be right up top. When you look at this, Sim, what you're showing me is it's really, it does tell the story. You're right. And you look at Richie up there, it's like playing with 10 men. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it really is.
But I agree. It's like playing with 10 men, but Richie's come in for a lot of criticism for yesterday.
Yes.
I agree, and I think a lot of it's deservedly so, because for me, I feel like sometimes when fans say, that striker, he just didn't get the service and stuff. But I feel like sometimes that's happening too often. The player has to take a bit of responsibility of that. Is he making the right runs? Is he making the right movements? Is he showing for the ball enough? Mm-hmm. And I think that comes for Richie as well yesterday. But look how isolated he is. Every time like no one's near him. He's up there alone. Every time we played those long balls into him yesterday, he had 3 or 4 defenders on him. And that's all well, and I'm not saying that's fine, but I'm saying you can maybe handle that if you've got some players getting near him. So if he's got defenders around him, right, keep the ball, and then you pop it off to a Spurs player, and then you get players forward, you bring other players into play. But no one was near him. He had no support at all yesterday. Like, he had to do so much by himself. And that led to him, I think, the first half, he had 4 touches on the ball yesterday. In that first half. One of them was obviously that mishit, that chance he should have obviously buried right at the start, which we were talking about. But I mean, what's he supposed to do when he's so isolated? Why do we not getting more player support close to him? Is that because we were just too concentrating on hanging back and playing in that low block, and we did we not have the energy to get forward? Did we not find the right times to get forward? Frank said that when we won the ball back, we were giving the ball away way too sloppily and way too easily. So was that the reason we weren't getting near enough Richie? We were getting the ball back and then just giving the ball away easily rather than focusing on trying to get up the pitch and sustaining some sort of attacking play. I'm not 100% sure the answer, but I can just say, look at that. Just look how far away he is from no one near him in an average position. And I kind of felt for him a bit yesterday, as much as I think he does deserve a bit of criticism as well, because when he did get opportunities to get involved, maybe he wasn't up to it. But I think far too often he was getting the ball with 3 or 4 defenders around him and no support.
Look, Sim, we always look for the scapegoat, right? Ever since the binding of Isaac, we're always looking for a scapegoat. And, Richie is that guy yesterday. Okay, you missed a chance, but the whole performance isn't up to him. The way we're playing is just not conducive with, a striker scoring 20, 25 goals a season. It's just not. You go to Bodo, you said it yourself, playing a low block, Sim. Why are we playing a low block against Bodo away from home? It really worries me, because we've heard all this about Frank being a master tactician and this and that, and he can tweak things in game, but he's getting it wrong from the start of the game. So, it's really, really tricky for me to kind of see where we go from here, because we've got such tough games coming up in the league. We've got Leeds away, we've got Villa, we've got Everton. Those are really, really tough games, and if we go in with the same kind of mindset we did against Bodo, I mean, we're getting beaten. It's simple as that.
Yeah,
can't play that way against these top teams.
Yeah, and look, and we've invested heavily in our squad, and and I know people complain about our attack and complain about whether it's good enough or not, but you look at what Frank was doing with Brentford, and in terms of that attacking talent, and surely he should be able to get more out of what we've got at the moment. But at the end of the day, I have to also say, it's still very early on. So that's all these things when it comes to getting some sort of cohesive attacking unit, getting fluidity. That all takes time, because
it does.
He's new to the job. He has to work out the way Frank operates. He has to work out how the players' strengths and weaknesses, and apparently the way he operates is he develops the system and the way of playing for the team based on the relationships with the players, how what they're good at, what they're not good at. Like I remember he was saying, like, okay, I had Sade on the left hand side, and I had to work out who's best to play with him, because he likes to run in behind, he likes to do certain things. So he then put a certain player with Sade on that side, so they work better together and they develop a relationship, because he felt like their strengths and weaknesses can complement each other. But with us, he's just got to work that out. And the only way you work that out is seeing it on the pitch, seeing how the players interact with each other, seeing what players are good at, what they react well to, what they don't. And I think all these teething problems at the moment that we are having, and it isn't nice to watch, and it's not fun at the moment, because it's tough to watch how we're going forward. But I am hopeful still that he can work all of that out, and it's just going to take a bit of time. But we're going to have to be a bit patient at the moment.
No, I agree with that, Sim. I do think we need to have a bit of patience. It's the thing that we probably lack as Spurs fans the most. Just look at how many managers we've been through in the last 15, 20 years. I do think us as fans, we need to be, kind of giving Frank a bit of time. It's just, it's difficult when you're seeing us go backwards in performances. Seeing City was amazing, West Ham was amazing, and then you kind of think about Bournemouth and Wolves and Bodo, and you think, well, that is two worlds apart, these kind of performances, and why is that happening? And we have to give Frank the time to fix those things, but we also need to be aware that and be realistic about the players that we have, the levels of ability and where they can get us in the grand scheme of things. If we're looking at that attack now and we're thinking, yeah, it's blunt, yeah, we don't have enough. Well, there's a man over in Germany who scored over 100 goals, and we have a clause to go and get him back. So for me, we should be trying our utmost to get that deal done. If it's something that Harry wants, of course, because that will be a game changer for us. You stick a player of Harry Kane's quality into this team, everything changes. Everything changes. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, obviously, that's also going to have to take a bit of time when we obviously need more windows. I think Frank's obviously going to need to work out all that kind of stuff. I think the most worrying thing though yesterday was just how. I think the worrying thing yesterday wasn't even the attack; is how thoroughly outplayed we were, and how open we looked. Like in the back line, we weren't able to keep them. We weren't able to kind of keep them at bay when it came to going forward. They missed that penalty. They had hit the bar late on, didn't they? They had us numerous chances throughout the game. If I look at the stats, they had 18 shots, and they had an XG of 2 and 2.5, which was over. We had 1.4, so far higher XG than us.
That's just
they had 36 touches in our box. They were just so much more kind of creative, and they were like so much. It was so hard to kind of stop them, and that is not something, even in our weaker games this season, apart from maybe Bournemouth. That's something we haven't seen too much of this season. Even in games, even against like Wolves, I know we played badly, but Wolves didn't have that many chances during the game. We still kept them relatively at bay, albeit they scored that goal. Most games this season, even when we haven't been at our best, we've kept the opposition to minimal chances. But this game, it's like we didn't seem to have any idea how to stop Bodo. And I don't understand what the reason for that was.
I don't understand it either, really, to be honest with you. Apart from that, we set up completely wrong for the game. You know, why are we playing? Why is Tottenham Hotspur going to Bodo, with all due respect to Bodo, and playing a low block? And you know, it doesn't sit right with me. That's not the Tottenham way. That's not what we grew up on. That's far, far from it. So I am worried. But like we said before, you do have to give Frank time. He's only been here for a couple of months. And
also, not just that, we still only have lost one game this season, so we are a lot harder to beat. We did come back yesterday. We came back from 2-0 down again, and so that does show traits of positive spirit, mentality, and also whatever you want to say about Frank and our way of playing. And obviously, I've got complaints about it. Don't get me wrong, but at least with, you know, adding this set piece kind of element to our roster, to our armory, it kind of means even when we're not playing well like yesterday, we're never out of the game. We've still got an ability to come back into it, because you just need a set piece or a corner, whatever, and you've got yourselves back in the game. And all of a sudden, you've got a foothold back in the game, even when you're not playing well. So it just gives you, you know, something to cling on to, and it gives you another way of getting points on the board and getting results, even when performances like yesterday are not clicking and we're not our best.
No, I agree with that, Sim. And, you know, I do think that since he's come in, his main objective has been to sort out that defence. You know, he obviously saw what happened last season, you know, and realised that was the main issue. And he has done better with the defence. It's just... yeah, it's a little bit worrying to see us concede that many shots to a team like Bodo, and honestly, we were really lucky to come away with a point.
And you look at the goals they scored; it's all quality goals. It shows what the quality they have if you allow them to play. Unbelievable
Goals, and you know that the penalty miss, bless him, that was like Baggio. You know,
you know what? I think it made Baggio look like close. You know what I mean? That was one of the worst. I couldn't. You know, I don't think I could miss by that much, even if I tried to miss by that much. You know what I mean? That was crazy. How far away he got it away from the penalty from the goal. Never seen a penalty missed by that much. That was one of the worst. But you know, you saw with. When you give them the opportunity to get shots off and get chances, those two goals by Hauger, brilliant. I mean, the first one curled it into the far corner, like from the edge of the corner of the penalty area, and the second one does a little trick past Porro and fires it from the edge of the box into the corner with his left foot. I mean, two brilliant goals, and you got to give them a lot of credit as well. As much as they were the better team and outplayed us, like quality goals there. Two quality goals from Bodo. So massive credit to them.
Could Bodo be going through in the top 24?
I think the fact that they didn't win will obviously be frustrating. I think they were winning as well in the last one, and I think first game they were 2-0 down and came back to get 2-2. This one they were 2-0 up and gave up to give it 2-2. But I think they got a chance.
Yeah, I think they do. The way they play, if they keep playing like that, if they keep picking up points, why not? Why not?
They're a good team. Obviously, we're now 4 points in the first 2 games, which is, look, okay. For me, a draw yesterday, before the game, I was saying, as much as I think we should win, draw's not the worst result. You know, you're away in Europe, a decent team like Bodo, it's not going to be the end of the world. We just got to make up for it against Copenhagen, against Slavia at home. And we got to beat one of Dortmund or Monaco or Frankfurt. We got to win a couple of those games. I think 15 points, I imagine, is good for top 8. About 15. So you need 5 wins. You need to find 5 wins. So we've obviously won 1 already with Villarreal. So you're looking at probably 4 wins out of PSG, Dortmund, Frankfurt, Monaco, Slavia, Copenhagen. We've got to find 4 wins out of that, surely. We should be able to. I mean, but then again, based on how we're playing, nothing can be guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed in football, Sim. Nothing's guaranteed, and we are going to have to raise our levels to new heights to progress in that top 8. I think it's going to be difficult now. It will be difficult. You've got really tough games, Monaco away, Paris away. These are really tricky games, really tricky. So I just want to see us qualify in that top 8, but I'm not 100% sure we'll get through there with the games we have left. I'm obviously hopeful, but yeah, we'll see. For me, the main focus now needs to be consistency in the league, getting back to winning ways there, because we need to be a lot better. We need to progress. We need to keep ourselves in that top 6, top 8, and the huge one for me is Newcastle away. In the cup, if he manages to get a win there and we go on a little run, I think it could be huge for us, because at the end of the day, winning trophies is what this game is all about. And people will forget about that Bodo performance if we go on a little Carabao run and maybe sneak into a semi-final and final in that one. So we got a lot of tough games coming up. And I do have a lot of belief in Frank. I know I've been a bit harsh on him here with some of his selections and some of his, but I really do think that he's a good manager. He seems like a really nice guy as well. The players have taken to him. We know what a wonderful job he did at Brentford. I just hope that we do give him the time and the board gives him the resources to achieve, because we've been in this situation so many times before. Right, and it is all change at Spurs. Levy is gone. The guy that held us back for many years on the footballing side, he is no longer there. So hopefully the relationship now between manager and board will be a lot better, and Frank can get the tools he needs in January and in the summer to really make us compete. I have big faith in Thomas, and I think he's worked his way up through the coaching world, through coaching youngsters to the amazing job he did at Brentford. We just need to show a bit of patience, and hopefully we'll get back to winning ways very, very soon. The Leeds game is huge. The Leeds game, before the international break, we need 3 points up there. And Ellen Road is a very difficult place to go. Yeah. Those Leeds fans will not make it a comfortable afternoon for us at all. And
they've started their season fairly well as well, Leeds. So that's not going to be an easy game by any stretch. That's the match review. That was us going to Bodo yesterday. There's a few problems I want to talk about when it comes to Thomas Frank. And the most important problem, I think, which I think people are starting to notice, is how heavily reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. And I've got a lot of when you look at it on the pitch, you saw it yesterday, before Kudus came on, I don't remember a single chance to be created. I think apart from the Richarlison one right at the start. Mohamed Kudus, at the moment, it seems as though you look at the Wolves game. It was like when Kudus was flying and when he was creating, Spurs were looking good. But as soon as he got kind of shut down, it was almost as if Spurs got shut down themselves. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I'm starting to notice that we seem to be extremely reliant on his ability to wriggle out of trouble, get us up the pitch, create chances. And when he's not doing that, it seems that we're kind of lost for ideas at the moment. And I'm looking at some of the data this season with Tottenham. And I mean, I'm looking at it, and some of it is quite concerning when in regards to, I think it backs up a lot of kind of the eye test in terms of how reliant we are on Kudus. And it also kind of backs up some of the problems I think a lot of people are pointing out. So if you bring on, you can bring on some of the numbers. So this is kind of what the numbers are showing at the moment this season with Spurs. So if we're looking at some of the creative numbers with Tottenham this season, this is key passes. So that means chances created essentially. If you look at the top two, you've got Porro with 14, who's top, and Kudus is second with 13. Obviously, Porro takes a lot of the set pieces and stuff, and obviously he's crossing a lot from deep. But Kudus, you look at in terms of in the front line, those are the players obviously you're expecting to be creative and creating chances, right? Kudus is 13. The next one closest to Kudus is Richarlison with 4, and then Bentancur with 4. And then beyond that, you got Simmons, who's also got 4, who's played like half the time of those players.
Yeah, he's barely played.
So hopefully Simmons, on this evidence, the more he plays, he's going to catch up with those other players. But for me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, where's all our attackers? No one seems to be close to Kudus when it comes to chances created. He is so far, he's almost like, he's basically 3 times anyone closer to him in terms of players in the front line. That, I think that's like clear evidence of how reliant we are on him to create opportunities for us. That's just basic key passes, like a metric there. If you're looking at expected assists, right? He's at 1.8, which is basically the quality of chances they're creating this season. He's at 1.8. Porro's obviously a bit closer, but 1.3. But then beyond that, no one's even over 1 expected assist. Bentancur's on half. Bergvall, again, Simmons is quite high up, and considering he's barely played, he's quite good. But everyone is like nowhere near him, Kudus, when it comes to how many assists that we're expecting. And in terms of attackers, it's quite worrying. You got Bentancur and Bergvall, who aren't even that high up, but they're there. But in terms of a forward player, the next highest is Richarlison at 0.2, which is nothing. And then beyond that, it's Brennan all the way down here. Like, none of our attackers are pulling their weight when it comes to creating chances. And I think that's a real worry. Like, Kudus is basically shouldering all the brunt of our creativity at the moment, it seems.
And what happens when he gets injured? You know what I mean? Christmas period, very busy. It is very worrying to see that. I think it's more the eye test that is worrying than the stats, though, Sim. You saw how blunt we looked yesterday without Kudus in the team and without Chavy in the team. And these are 2 new signings. You'd think that these guys would come to add on to what we had already. And it's just, maybe it's cost us a little bit because Frank is, focused so much on the defence that, our attacking play has suffered a little bit. That could be, a little factor to do with it. But yeah, it is worrying to see how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus there, and I don't know if the solution is getting more players around the box and in dangerous areas. So like I was screaming last night, Sim, for a change. Like even stick Kudus, get Richie off, stick Kudus up top, stick Brennan on the right, get Tell on, do something, get Chavy in the 10, do something to change the pattern of the game. That's what was driving me crazy yesterday. You could see that it wasn't working for us. You could see Bodo getting in the game, and you could see them going 1-0 ahead. And I'm just looking. I look at my manager to see what is going on the pitch and make the correct decisions to get over the line. And I think that's what I'm most worried about, because sometimes when I look at the lineup, you know, when you see Bentancur and Palinia in there against Wolves at home, I'm like, why? Just why are they there? Why not, you know, go a bit more attacking? Why not have a bit more creativity in there against the Wolves at home?
But if you look at another a couple of basic metrics here, crosses into the box, right? Kudus has 10.
Yeah.
Porro has 8. No one else has more than 2. So Kudus and Porro, the only players getting crosses in the box. I mean, Simmons has barely played and he has more than other players. The only other players have 1. So without Kudus basically in the front line, no one is putting a cross in the box at all.
We've got
no one's doing supply. This is passes into the box. So just literally a pass into the penalty area. It shouldn't be that hard, right? That should be something like most players should be able to do. Again, Kudus is well ahead with 15. You got Porro with 12, and then the next one is 5. Again, Simmons. So I guess what I'm looking at this data is we need Simmons to be playing a lot more, essentially. We need him to get up to speed. We need him in and around the box. But none of these players are... I mean, Kudus is triple anyone else in the front line. When it comes to just a simple pass into the box, Kudus is, that's not even something, you know, I'm not even asking to create a chance. I'm asking, can you just pass the ball to a player in the box? Yeah. And it's like, without Kudus, no one else is doing that.
No one can do it. It's ridiculous, Sib. And you know, if I'm an opposition manager, and we've seen managers do jobs on us, you're looking at that, you're like, okay, I'll shut down Kudus. Then what are they going to do? I'll double, triple up on him. I won't give him any space.
And no one else can even pass the ball into the box, let alone create a chance. It seems.
Honestly, it's worrying. I want to see Chavy in the 10 week in, week out. I don't like this left business. You know, Frank might see him as a left winger. I do not see that guy as a left winger at all. He's someone that can open up the play from the middle. Maybe he can play there, you know, he's okay, but that for me, that's not his position, left wing. He's a 10, out and out 10. He looks like he's got magic in his feet as well around the box. So yeah, I hope we see Chavy in the 10 against Leeds. That's for sure. That's for sure, Sim. But how are you feeling about it all, Sim? Because obviously you were a big supporter of Ange when everyone was against the Aussie. And we brought in Frank. We took a big gamble, getting rid of a manager who just brought us a European trophy.
Well, there's going to be a time for that, I promise you, because when we go reacts, there's quite a bit of Ange stuff, so we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But I want to just focus on right now as well, just what we're seeing on the pitch, because I was saying yesterday, I remember Josh King was saying in the WhatsApp, I hope we rest Kudus yesterday, he was saying.
Yeah.
I messaged, I said before the game, we are just so reliant on him. Like, we're relying on him to do everything. We're relying on him to get us up the pitch. We're relying on him to create chances. We're relying on him to cross the ball in the box. We're relying on him to dribble past players. We're relying on him to keep the ball. It seems as though we can't keep the ball in the final third unless Kudus is on the pitch. If you look at another metric, shot creating actions, Kudus, again, well ahead with 30. Which shot creating action is a direct action that leads to a shot. Kudus is well ahead with 30. The next one in terms of forward player, Bergvall, if you can even call him a forward player, you know, he has 12. Again, like all the other players offering forward players offering very, very little if it's not for Kudus. In open play as well, he's well ahead, 17. No one else has more. Porro has 13. And what was quite a concerning one as well, I was looking at these stats. You look at this, right? This is just touches in the final third. Just getting on the ball in the final third, right? Kudus is 207, yeah? The next two are fullbacks. They're fullbacks. Porro and Spence. So two of the top three players to have touched the ball in the final third the most in our team this season are fullbacks. Porro and Spence.
That is wild. If I was Odebear, Johnson and Tell and these guys, I'd be like, what the hell?
I don't understand how
what the hell?
You're a forward player, right? You're playing in the attacking third. Your job is to do things in the attacking third, and fullbacks are touching the ball more than you in that area. I understand maybe for a striker like Richarlison, you got defenders around you, it's tough for you to get on the ball, but how Kudus, and he's got double, essentially, apart from Porro, who he's got basically a quarter more than, he's basically double anyone else. Spence is 107. Kudus is 207. The next, how crazy is this? The fourth most, right, is Chavy Simmons, who's barely played.
Who just arrived.
Oh, he made his debut against West Ham a few games ago. He hasn't even started every game. He's only started against West Ham, and he started against who else was it? Not Bournemouth. West Ham, and he started on the last game against Wolves.
Yeah.
And he's
on
already
the left though.
On the left. And he's already fourth for most touches in the attacking third in our whole squad.
Wow.
Fullbacks are having more touches in the squad than in the attacking third than our attackers. I looked at this as well. Who's having touches just in the middle third of the pitch, right? 4 of the top 5 are defenders. So you got Van de Ven, Romero, Porro, and then you have to wait for the fourth one is Bentancur. Then the next one is Spence. So where are our midfielders getting on the ball? They're not in the attacking third. They're not even touching it in the middle third. Right, that's defenders. Defensive third, they're not touching it. That's all defenders as well. So our midfield are not getting on the ball. I mean, it's a separate point to the Kudus one, but they're not getting on the ball, our midfield players at all. We're relying on our defenders to be dominating the ball in the middle third. It's not our midfielders are not getting on the ball.
No. What do you think the solution is to this, Sim? Where do we?
I don't know whether, but I think a lot of it is to do with the approach, because you look at how we approach the game and how we. Just another quick one before, and then we'll bring the stats off. You look at the take-ons. This is pretty crazy. Kudus has 69 attempted take-ons. The next closest is Spence with 22. So Kudus is basically doing all the dribbling in the team, essentially, is the point. He's got 33 successful take-ons. That's nearly as many as the whole rest of the team combined. So we're basically relying on him to basically have the ball in the attacking third. We're relying on him to create, to cross, to dribble. But we're basically relying on Kudus. We're basically a one-man team going forward at the moment. It's basically Kudus or nothing. That's basically what I'm seeing here. That's how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. Okay, you can take the stats off now. In terms of why it's happening, I think if you look at our approach, we're very much building up in the wide areas. We've got no central progression at the moment, which means the midfielders seem to be moving out wide. We're creating overloads in the wide areas, and we're not even bothering to try and build up through the middle, it seems. We're trying to bypass that middle area. So it's leading to Porro and Kudus bearing the brunt of a lot of our build-up down the right, because they're the ones who can handle it. I think Udogie can handle it going forward. Spence, I'm not so sure when it comes to getting into the final third and being effective. I think Udogie did a good job, and that's why we looked a lot better against Brighton when he was playing, because he did a good job down the left-hand side. But our left winger, whoever we're having a problem in our left winger. They're not seeming to be able to do the job at the moment.
There's a big sunny-shaped hole on the left.
There's a big hole on the left wing. But I think Frank has to do a lot of work and getting our central players involved. And whether that means we need to be seeing Simmons a lot more in the 10 so we can get the ball to him and have a lot more central progression. Do we need a centre mid who's capable of taking the ball of the half turn, playing those forward passes in between the lines? I don't know whether it's we don't have anyone capable or Frank's not focusing on it, or maybe is Frank not focusing on it because we have no one capable. I don't know what comes forward, the chicken or the egg. But all I can say is that is what is happening at the moment. We're basically completely abandoning in possession the centre of the pitch, and if you actually look at the game when we're playing, there's no one ever in the centre. We're only ever going out wide. There's actually no one even there to pass to. It's not like there are players there and we're neglecting to pass them. They're always out wide. They're like going. We're like basically doing. It seems to be very purposeful. We're moving our players out wide to build up progression in those areas, but it's leading to basically these stats where if Kudus ain't doing anything, we've got basically we're basically offering F all on the pitch. And that, for me at the moment, is the biggest concern that Frank has to adjust to, because whatever you want to say about our forward players, this isn't even an attack on our forward players necessarily. They're not pulling their weight, but I'm looking at who we have and there is talent there. Whatever you want to say, there is players who should be able to come up with more than what they're offering right now. And we shouldn't be this reliant on Kudus in the forward line. Like, why, that should never be kind of acceptable.
No, it shouldn't be acceptable, Sim. And, it's like we've gone back 5 years when we were reliant on Harry Kane. Harry Kane was the one pulling us out of, so many games. He rescued us, so many. And it's like we haven't learned our lesson. Now we're relying on Momo. And, that's not what football's about, guys. You think about the best teams that had some of the best players in the world. They were a team as well as having, a Messi or a Ronaldinho or a Ronaldo or whoever else, or a Raul or a Figo or, a Zizou. They had other players around them that were fantastic and they understood the team aspect of the game. And maybe that's something that we lack a little bit, with the amount of players that come in and out, the amount of managers that come in and out. Maybe there is a little bit of disharmony within the group as well that is affecting the way we play a little bit. Yeah. Players that are disgruntled, not so happy, not playing. This player's not, so you become a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? A little bit complacent about the way you're playing, and that's what it looked like to me yesterday. It looked like players that didn't really want to put in 110%, and this is Champions League. Are you guys?
I don't know if it's disgruntlement. I just think the approach at the moment, I think there's a lot of problems with it, and I think Frank's got to sort a lot of it out, and like work out.
Yeah, sorry, Sim. Sorry.
No. He's got to work out how we can build up more effectively, essentially, without just relying on Kudus. Kudus should be like. I think at the moment we're so reliant on him, but he is so good in doing these things. It's kind of working a bit because he can kind of shoulder that brunt. But if we can make it so that there's threats everywhere, and then Kudus is going to be unstoppable, because if we've got threats in other parts of the pitch, which the other team are worried about, then we can't get into a mode where they're just relying on stopping Kudus, and then that's it, and then we're shut down. So I think Frank has to work out how we can get these other players more involved. I think Malware makes a decent point. He says, Sim, that's what happens when you lose Son, Maddison, and Kulu and Solanke. And he's right. We do have a lot of talent.
Good point.
On the sidelines, and you get them more involved. And maybe we wouldn't be so reliant on Kudus. But look, I'm looking at the team again. I know Brennan's not the doesn't get the most involved. But you got Bodø, you got Bergvall. Richarlison, you know, he's a player. When he was at Everton, he loved to be involved in general play. He was a good player at Everton. Like you've got Simmons there. You've got, you do have talent. I know maybe there's a lot on the disposal, but you've got talent in your squad which you can use. I mean, talent which I think if he would have loved at Brentford, and at Brentford they were, you know, a good attacking team. They used to really hurt oppositions and. I think I'm looking at the talent he's got at his disposal at Spurs, and like there is so much more to work with, in my opinion, than just Kudus and that's it. Like he has to be able to get these players more involved somehow.
Look, there is, but this is why I think it's partly on the players, and there might be a bit of disgruntlement and disharmony within the dressing room. Because if you think about that Brentford team last year, do you remember they were scoring like? In the first 2 minutes of the game, they were going at teams. They were just, you know, really all-out attack. And then I'm looking at like yesterday's performance, and why are we not doing that? Why are we not attacking? Why are we not? And is it the way we're set up, or is it that the players don't have the ability to attack the way Frank wants yet? I don't really know.
Well, they have less ability than what the Brentford players have. I don't know, unless it's just a teething problems, and when it will start to click at some point. Maybe that's it. Maybe just need to be a little patient. But my only point really was, I was watching the game yesterday, and I've been watching us this season, and we seem to be very reliant on Kudus when I look at the team, when I look at the eye test, and then I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers seem to back up what I'm seeing when it comes to how reliant we are on Mohamed Kudus. And I think that is something that we really, Frank has to get to grips with, and we need to fix that issue. I think, judging by the numbers, getting Simmons more involved is going to help, because he seems to be quite high up, even though he's barely played. So that's one way, I think, to alleviate that problem. But we can't, I don't think it's sustainable to keep being so reliant on him. I think that is something we got to work on. But look, that's all I wanted to bring up. That's the problems. Let's move on. We got player ratings we're going to go through for yesterday. Not great, I don't think. Obviously, Amir hasn't given his, but I've got mine, and Amir can just chime in. First up, Vicario. I gave him a 5. I don't think he had like an awful game. I don't remember too many saves he actually had to make. A lot of the fact that Bodo didn't score was a lot to do with their bad finishing. But obviously the second goal came from a poor kick from him, didn't it? Which led to Spence giving the ball away and whatever. A lot of people saying Vicario at the moment, is it time to give Kinski a run out? What do you think of him yesterday? And do you think maybe Kinski should get a go?
It's a tricky one. It's always very dangerous, you know, dropping your number one guy. But Vic has made a few mistakes in the last few games. He's a fantastic shot stopper, but he does sometimes lack a little bit of concentration when it comes to distribution and stuff like that, which I do think in the modern game is quite important. And we know how good Kinski is with that. So I wouldn't have been against giving Kinski a run out yesterday. I think that if players aren't performing to the level you expect, you know, there is a guy waiting in the wings there ready to go. So I think you do have to use that. It's why like yesterday, after Richie missed that chance, I would have hooked him straight away. 30 minutes, hook him, put Kudus up top, do something different. If it's not your day, and there's nothing wrong with that in football sim either. Sometimes you have off days in life. It happens. You know, you've flown all the way to the bloody Arctic Circle. I don't know, Richie's legs, he's too cold for him there. They're not moving around. I don't know. But I'm looking at the manager to do something with regards to that.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say about Vicario, which I think he needs to work on, which I think all top keepers do have, is his calmness and composure. He is I think we all love him because of his passion, right? He's always pumped
Yeah.
up. He's always got loads
Signing
of passion.
blood for the club.
Yeah, signing blood. I love that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that could be one of his big weaknesses because I feel like he's always so amped up. He's always so ready to go. And I think it causes panic sometimes. I think sometimes he needs to calm himself down. Sometimes he needs that little bit of calmness and composure. He needs to be more controlled. Because sometimes I feel like it does lead to good stuff. Like when a player sometimes goes through a one-on-one, he's on them like a flash. He's on top of them. He comes out quickly. But I also think it leads to it can lead to a bit of panic in the back line sometimes because he's always going at like 100 miles an hour. He doesn't have an element of calmness. You look at the likes of Edison and Donnarumma and Alisson, they're very calm figures. They're guys who when the ball comes to them, they're calm with it on the ball. There's no panic. They're very composed. And I think Vicario needs to develop that side of him. And I think sometimes he can be a bit too amped up. And that's something he needs to work on, I think, for Vicario. And
that's a good point.
So he can get that would take him for me from a very good keeper to joining, getting closer to one of some of the elites.
But do you not think he needs to stop making mistakes as well to get to that elite level? I mean, obviously,
I think all keepers make mistakes. First of all, I don't think Vicario makes that many, to be honest. Like in terms of real mistakes, like I don't think he's an error-prone keeper. I don't. I think he made that mistake again. No, I don't. I think he made that mistake against Brighton and against Wolves as well. But I don't think in general he makes loads of mistakes, especially from shot stopping. I don't think he makes tons and tons of mistakes. I don't think he's error prone. I think it's more where his distribution's not fantastic. I think we can all agree with that, especially when he's being rushed. And I think he creates sometimes a bit too much panic in the back line. That's what I would say.
A bit of composure, and you take that 5 up to a 6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. In the player ratings, yeah. Next up, Pedro Porro. I gave him a 5. Look, he did get an assist for the goal. Fair play to him. I did think he was very wasteful yesterday. A lot of his passes going out of play.
Very sloppy.
Very, very scrappy. Obviously, he got absolutely done for the second goal as well. The Bodo player went past him without him being there. But he did get a really good assist from Mickey van der Ven's goal, so gave him a 5.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'd agree with that. 5.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Kevin Danso. I gave him a 5 as well. What I'll give him credit for is he had to do a lot of blocking of shots yesterday because they were popping off a lot of shots around the penalty area, and he had to put his body on the line on more than one occasion. I thought aerially quite good. One thing I was very frustrated with, his on the ball play was not good. I thought his weight of pass sometimes is completely out of whack. I think that's something that's something I've pointed out from him ever since he's joined. And I think we really missed Romero on the ball yesterday. I think Danso was not a good replacement for him. I thought defensively good, didn't have too many problems. On the ball though, it seems as though he's got a player right next to him and he just smacks the ball at him. Like, he's got no concept of weight of pass or how to kind of just gently get a pass to his teammate. He seems to always smack it. And there was a few passes yesterday. He went to pass it in behind to Kudus and it went just way out of play. Like Kudus was nowhere near it because his way of pass was completely wrong. So that is something that we missed yesterday with Romero's that passing ability.
Oh, hugely. Romero, what he offers, those long balls that he can offer over the top as well.
Yeah.
People don't realise how fantastic Christian is. They kind of tend to look at the rash side, as they say about him. But even though I think he's really improved his discipline over the last 2-3 years. I agree with that. I think Danso, about a 5. He did get dragged out of position a few times yesterday, but I think in general, he doing his job defensive wise, he's been pretty good. But yeah, of course, he has elements that he needs to improve on, like the passing, of course.
Yeah. Next up, Mickey van der Ven, captain on the day. I gave him a 7. Look, got the goal. I thought he was probably our best player on the day. He got the goal, defended really well. There was one point where he threatened to kind of lose control when he, obviously VAR ruled out the goal because he pulled back the Bodo defender, which, to be honest, I thought was the right decision, unfortunately, because because the player that Van de Ven pulled, he could have headed the ball clear.
He was going to get there, yeah.
He was going to get there. So
get there.
unfortunately, you have to rule out the goal.
Yeah.
Van de
I
Ven,
think that was a fair decision.
Yeah, I thought it was a fair decision. Van de Ven got all angry about it, and then a few minutes later, he went flying into a challenge, went completely over the ball, and got himself booked for it. And I think he threatened to kind of maybe lose control, but calmed himself down.
He held himself together,
got the goal, really good header himself, dragged Spurs back in the game. And I thought out of the defence, out of the team, he was the one probably showed a bit more composure, showed the most quality, and defended well on the day as well.
Yep. I'd agree with that. And I think that, if he didn't hold that guy back and we actually got that goal, maybe he would even go up to an 8, maybe.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. He was our best player on the day. Nice to see him wearing the captain's armband as well. I think he is a leader in that group.
Yeah, interesting you say that Frank confirmed yesterday he's going to be part of the leadership group. So
fantastic.
Good decision, you think?
Oh, fantastic. Brilliant decision. And I think that Mickey, we're going to see him go from strength to strength this season. And don't be surprised if he gets more and more goals as well from these positions, because he's so good in the air.
Yeah, 100%. He's getting better in the air as well, I feel. Next up, Jed Spence. I gave him a 5. I didn't have too many problems with his performance. I don't think it was terrible. It's just, again, with Spence going forward, he offers very little because he's always cutting in on his right foot. I feel he doesn't like to get to the byline. I don't think he linked up well with Odebear. They didn't seem to have any sort of rapport, because Odebear also is a player who likes to chop inside. And Spence, what I noticed yesterday, Spence liked to move inside into the centre, be a bit more inverted yesterday. And then Odebear would stay far out wide. Whereas I think Odebear, where he's at, he needs that support to drag defenders away so he can run at defenders. Whereas, you've got Kudus there. Even if you double up against Kudus, he can handle it. If you double up against Odebear, he's going to struggle. He needs that support from a fullback, I feel. Defensively, I think he was okay. But yeah, just again, I think I just prefer it when the doggy's there, to be honest. I think he offers more.
Yeah, do you think Udogie links up with Odie as well? A bit better, Odie.
You saw it against Brighton. They linked up very well.
Yeah, they did. Well, Udogie as well, when he was at Udinese, he was a goal scorer. He would really get in goal scoring positions as well and do really well. So I do hope we see some more combinations down that line. I think it is a fair assessment of Spence, to be honest. 5, 6. Yeah, somewhere around there. You expect a little bit more from Jed. Just in terms of his gameplay and output, we've known him to be very good going forward, very good defensively, and not one of his best performances. Yeah.
Next up, Bentancur. I gave him a 4. He's come in for a lot of criticism in this game. A lot of heat. People saying we can't play him as a 6 ahead of Palinia in these games. He did really struggle, I have to say, on the day. Was bypassed a lot. Didn't get stuck in anywhere near enough in the middle.
He's not really a 6, is he?
Yeah, on the ball, didn't offer enough as well. Kept playing it safe, never played it forward in between the lines. And yeah, I think he struggled in that position, I felt, yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think Bentancur's a 6, to be honest with you, Sim. I think he's more of an 8, better in that position. When you ask him to do that kind of Paulinho role, he doesn't have that same tackling ability. He's okay tackling, but he's not Paulinho level. He's not a pitbull level 6. And I do think part of the problem, it's not necessarily Bentancur as a player, but it's that he's been played in the wrong positions and he's been played in the wrong midfields. I do think there's a real player in there. I love Bentancur. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I just think that he's being played a little bit out of position and being used not in the correct way in the midfield so far that we've seen.
The problem is Palinia, he had a few injury problems last year. So, can he play every game? Can we rely on him to just be that six in every game?
Well,
He's going to have to take a rest at some point.
Where's Biss?
He's not in the Champions League squad.
Why?
We left him out when there wasn't enough room.
I don't like that.
Yeah, but who would you have left him out for?
Odebear?
Odebear? Then who would have played in the front line yesterday? You got no Tell or Odebear.
Could have put no Tell. You could have put Chavy on the left. He likes Chavy on the left. I don't know. I just think, I know Biss has obviously he's had his disciplinary, issues with Frank and whatever. He didn't come out to the Super Cup, but he's a fantastic six on his day.
Mm-hmm.
One of our best performers in some of the key games last season. So yeah, a lot of questions. But yeah, at 4 for Bentancur Sim.
Yeah.
4, 5. Yeah.
Next up, Pupsar. I gave him a 4. Look, he's been good this season, but yesterday was an anonymous display, if I'm being honest. He just struggled, I felt, Pupsar, to get involved in the game at all. He had that one shot as well, I felt, in the first half. He took a shot from like 30 yards on his left foot, which was going nowhere near. And that was one of the moments we had options going forward. That was a really poor decision. Didn't offer enough of the energy that he usually does. I don't know if he's struggling with an injury or not, but didn't quite kind of look himself yesterday.
No, he didn't look himself, and he's been fantastic this season so far. So we'll put it to an off day for Pape, who again I love him as a player. I think he's phenomenal, and he's got a really really wide skill range. He just needs to be playing. I think for me a little bit more forward with Sarr. I want to see him a little bit more towards the edge of the box a little bit more than centre circle. But yeah, I think 4 is probably... We expect so much more from Pape, So yeah, 4.
Next up, Bergvall. I gave him a 5. Yeah, look, again, him playing in the 10 struggled. I thought, look, to be fair, he did brilliantly for that chance that Rishi had right at the beginning of the game, where he took on a couple of players, played a beautiful outside of the boot pass to Richarlison, obviously screwed up the chance. So that was a really good moment. But apart from that, don't remember too much he was able to do. Yeah, and I thought Chavy, when he came on, and didn't even do that much more, but was just a lot more involved, getting on the ball a lot more, playing some passes in around the penalty area, which Bergvall, again, was probably just stuck in his own half a bit too much.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Again, we come to expect a little bit more from Bergvall, considering what he's done over the last year and a half for us. But yeah, if Richie puts that in and he gets that assist, it goes up to a 6 or 7 maybe for him.
Because that was a good assist. That was a good pass.
It was fantastic, and you think about the goal that could have been with Kudus, the offside one. He's a phenomenal player, Bergvall. He's going straight to the very top of football. It's just, it is finding the right attacking plays and link ups with him, and I think that will come. In the next few months. We'll see a lot more of Bergvall assisting and scoring.
Next up, Odebear. I gave him a 5. Look, out of all the attackers on the pitch, he probably got the most involved a bit. Trying to make a few things happen, trying to do something, but unfortunately, there was very little either support and also a bit little quality from him. Hit the post late on when Kudus came on. He had that header which hit the post, which he might feel he could have done a bit better with. I want to see a bit more from him. What I like about him compared to when I see Johnson on the left, though, is at least he protects the ball. He takes care of the ball a bit, and he doesn't just treat it like a hot potato and tries to get rid of it as soon as possible and ends up being sloppily giving it away. At least he can kind of take it into him, link up with some of his teammates. But I want to see when he gets to the final third, be a bit more direct. cut inside and shoot, get to the byline, commit players. Like, he's just a bit. He kind of just holds back a bit too much. I mean, but I think sometimes. Like I said, it was a strength, for sometimes maybe he's a bit too protective of the ball. Maybe he's a bit too scared of losing it sometimes. So he's got to work on that.
Yeah, no, I think, look, Odegaard does offer something different, completely different to Brennan. It's kind of the things we've all been talking about on this stream sim. It's linking up with the right players. It's linking up with you doggies, with your Spences, with Bergvals, playing little 1-2s, playing little triangles, getting round the corner. And I fully agree with you on taking shots. For goodness sake, Spurs, just, learn from Bodo. Bloody hell, like. Just take some shots from outside the box. Make the keeper make a save. Make him work. Maybe he's got a fly in his nose and he'll miss it. You don't know. You've got to take shots. And Odegaard, he's got a decent little peg on him. So, I do want to see more from Wilson, and I think there is a player in there. We just got to unlock it a little bit more with Wilson, and he is young again.
Yeah, he's still young. It's true. Brennan on the right-hand side, 4. I mean, to be honest, I think it's a generous 4. Could have been lower. He didn't do anything again. It's a classic Brennan performance on the right-hand side when he's not scoring. He offers very little, and I think yesterday was another example of that. I can't even remember off the top of my head many times he touched the ball or got involved. It was a very quiet day for him.
Shouldn't have been on the pitch for me. Should have been Kudus. But yeah. I agree with that.
You just saw the difference with Kudus when he came on.
Completely different, Sim. It's completely different. The thing with Johnson is he's so effective in certain games and certain parts of the pitch that he's almost your perfect super sub. So why not utilize him there more, and why not as well try? For me, he's not so much of a winger. He's more of a second striker kind of player. So why not try him in there? Why not see how he does? Richie was awful yesterday, so why not put Johnson up front, Kudus on the right, and then you've got to try and mix things up. You've got to try and give players opportunities to play in their right position. And I think we will get there with Brennan. Look, I'm very grateful for everything that he's done for this club. I know he drives fans mad, and myself included in that, in some of the touches that he takes and kind of wastefulness on the ball. But he is so effective in goal-scoring areas. And, we've got to get behind this kid. He's a youngster as well. He's only 24. I think he's one of these players that needs the fans to come around him and, give him that Johnson ole again, and that's what we're waiting to hear. And we got to try and, as fans, understand that he doesn't have the same quality and abilities that Momo has. It's two very different players, and they offer different things to the team. So let's not get on his back about the things that he can't do, and just praise the things that he can do, like putting the ball in the back of the net.
I agree, and it's a vital skill he has.
What football's all about.
Exactly. Next up, Richarlison. I gave him a 3. I mean, one of his worst displays, I would have to say. I mean, look, to be fair, I mean, look, he had the chance, which he fluffed right at the beginning of the game. Then was completely anonymous for large parts. He didn't even score at the end. It was an own goal, albeit he was close to it.
He influenced it. He
influenced the goal, I guess. So he gets a bit of credit for that. But very, very... Look, it's a difficult day for him because he was very isolated and he seemed to be surrounded by 3 or 4 defenders with no support every time he got the ball. So he's not blameless, but... he was just bad. I mean, there's nothing much more to say.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. It's, people look at 3 and think he was absolutely awful. He was pretty woeful, to be honest with you. And it's not all his fault. It's also how isolated he was. But yeah, again, you're expecting your striker, to always, even if he's not looking, that the ball might arrive at his feet and he's going to have a pop. So yeah, that chance was a huge miss in the game, and changed the trajectory of the game. That miss, I feel. So yeah, 3 is fair.
Next up, Chavy. He came on. I gave him a 6. Look, I thought he came on. I don't think he was like set the world alight, but he just added a bit of just kind of assurance in that middle of the park, a bit of stability, just got things ticking over, some good passes, won a few free kicks, just got involved. He didn't. I don't remember too many chances he created, to be fair, or anything like that, but I thought he linked up quite well with Destiny on a couple of occasions down the left, got the ball out to Kudus quickly on occasion. Obviously, I want to see him do a bit more, but I thought he influenced the game positively. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think 6 is fair. We always look better when Chavy's on the pitch. So let's just hope he gets the nod against Leeds in the 10 as well, please.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, Mohamed Kudus. I gave him a 7. Such a big difference when he comes on. As I've said before, so reliant on him. We did a whole video on it. And look, he came on, he changed the game from his perspective. Obviously, laid it back for Porro for the opening goal, set up Bodø for a chance for the header, which he hit the post on. Was just a much more of a threat. The only downside of Kudus being so, obviously there's a big downside of being reliant on Kudus. I mean, one of the big downsides, I would say, is that because we're so reliant on him, I feel like he feels like he has to do it all by himself, and that leads to him sometimes making bad decisions. Like he maybe doesn't pass it when he should, or he always goes for extra dribble when he doesn't need to. So that's another drawback of being so reliant on him, is that he feels that responsibility to do it all himself sometimes. But he is good enough sometimes to do that and shoulder that responsibility. I thought he came on and had a good cameo.
Yeah, really good cameo. Wish he was on the pitch from the start of the game. You showed in the stats how reliant we are on Momo. Just hope he can open his account. I'm waiting for that first goal. I thought he saw it against Wolves, but obviously he was offside. It will come. It will come with time. What he does, on the ball it's phenomenal. We don't have anyone in the team that can do the things that Kudus can. So yeah, fantastic player, great signing, and just hope we get him off the mark when it comes to goals.
Yeah, he needs to get that first goal. And then next, Palinia, I gave him a 6. Good cameo. Thought came on, just added that little bit of steel we needed in the middle of the park. And yeah, I thought we were just a bit nowhere, nothing in the middle until he came on, and then he just added a little bit of aggression, won the ball back, and I mean, he didn't have to do too much, but because it were 2-0 down to Bodo, were already sitting back a bit, but just got us that little bit of domination in there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if we're looking for a player of the season so far, it's Zhao.
Yeah, he's done a great job. One other player to mention, he only came on for 5 minutes, but didn't make a good impact. That's Archie Gray. I didn't give him a rating, but
really good.
Yeah, really good impact. He obviously got the assist for the goal. Really good run. That run, by the way, is something I've seen him do a few times now since he's been on the pitch. That little run on the side of the penalty box is hard to track for opposition midfielders. So that run is good. And I thought, I had a really good cameo.
Do you think he should have started instead of Bentancur?
I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying. Potentially in hindsight, should we be giving him more minutes potentially, because he seems to be a lot more, getting. I feel like he might need to be paired with a defensive midfielder though, maybe instead of Sarr.
So what, like Leeds? Would you play Palinia, Gray,
and Chavy,
and maybe a Bergvall Chavy?
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
You like the setup? Yeah, I'd be down to see that, Sim. I'd be down to see that. I think Archie's a fantastic player. I think he's got a very, very bright future ahead of him. A really wide skill range, if that makes sense. The things that he can do on the ball, his passing abilities, his calmness as well in possession, really, really brilliant. And I think for such a young guy, he's got a really, really good head on his shoulders, which is obviously super important in the modern era. So I want to see him get a lot more minutes this season, a lot more.
And lastly, Thomas Frank, I gave him a 4. Not a great day at the office for him. I thought probably got the selection wrong, I would say, given how we played. I think the setup as well. I mean, he's look. I think a lot of our struggles. I think he's got to take a bit of accountability for that. I think it wasn't a. I didn't. And look, he made the subs, change it, and we got back to 2-2. So fair play. Albeit, I even thought late in the game, I don't think we even played that well. We just found some moments to get back in the game. It wasn't like Brighton where it was inevitable, I felt. It was just like we had the quality to do it, and we showed that quality, but it wasn't like I felt we were definitely getting back in this, like in terms of how we were playing. And even at 2-2, Bodo hit the bar. They had another chance. They could have made it 3-2. They looked more likely to score. So at 2-2. So not an amazing day for him, to be honest.
No, and I'd agree with the 4. I think if we don't get that equaliser, it goes down even further. But the fact that we did come away with a point does count in his favour a little bit. I just hope he can sort it out, Sim. Really, we're coming into a critical period after that international break. So I really, really hope that he can turn things around for us a little bit and start getting the best out of our attacking players, because he solidified the defence. We do look a little bit, better defensively. We take that Bodo game out of, it's a little bit different. Champions League, AstroTurf pitch, up in the Arctic Circle, it's different to your average Premier League game. So I think he'll get there with the attack. I do think so. I think we just got to be a bit more patient, and he will start to get lineups as well. When we look at them, he'll get them a little bit more on point and get the right players in there for the right games.
All right, that is our player ratings. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of our player ratings. And we're going to end off with reacts as we look at some of the reactions. First up, we got Brennan from the lane. So this is Orsic. So basically, some eagle-eyed Spurs fans saw Miroslav Orsic scored yesterday against Bayern Munich, and it got a lot of Tottenham fans getting flashbacks to Zagreb a few years ago when Orsic was the player who scored that hat-trick and knocked us out. So we got Brendan from the lane who's, let's say, having nightmares about Orsic's name coming up again.
That's brilliant.
Do you reckon that's what Harry Kane was feeling, seeing Orsic score yesterday against him?
Mate, he was probably
because Kane played that night.
Yeah, he was probably thinking, "Here we go again,
Not again.
bloody hell."
The funny thing is, Bayern were 4-0 up, and Orsic then banged one in from 30 yards into the top corner, and I bet Kane was like, "Oh no, I've seen this." Because we were weren't we 3-0 up, and then he scored a hat trick, so we were 3-0 up in that on aggregate. So the less said about Orsic, the better, I would say. Kieran said we conceded more XG in the first half, 1.63, than we did over 2 legs against Bodo last season, 0.69. That's just quite interesting for considering last season. The squad, I don't know. Look, to be fair, we had a strong team out there. Obviously, the team was a bit rested. But you look at the team we played yesterday, probably quite similar to the team that played in the semi-final, I would say, to Bodo last season. I mean, for a team that, for obviously Ange, been known for being very defensively naive and whatever, but we seem to concede a lot less chances last season than this season.
Sim, it was all a narrative, right? He doesn't change. He did change. He changed the whole thing for Frankfurt, for Bodo, for the final. You know, he did adapt his team. So I think a lot of that kind of stuff with Ange, it was narratives. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, a lot of people looking at yesterday thinking, is that proof that the win against Bodo last season was a lot more impressive than people give us credit for? Maybe. I mean, maybe you could.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Bodo were very good yesterday. You got to say that they were very good
They were
yesterday. And they
fantastic.
tore us to shreds.
They were fantastic. They
And-
deserved the win. Honestly,
and last season we made very light work of it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Sim. And yeah, it is a worry. It is a worry.
Serotonin says this is a meme of a whisper in the ear saying Leeds game is before an international break. I think that's what everyone is worried about going into the weekend. Because I think we have lost what is it, 6 games in a row before international breaks. It's a bit ridiculous.
It's crazy, Sim. It's almost to the point where you think, is there some kind of curse on us? You know, that we never get over the line before an international break. Let's see if we can break it up at Ellen Road, hopefully.
Vivi says Frank might be a fraud. His whole game plan depends on Kudus turning impossible situations and scraps into something. I don't know if I kind of agree that is what it's set pieces and Kudus. That's essentially the kind of game plan at the moment, it seems. I don't know if it's the plan or that's what seems to be happening. It's basically get a set piece and cause problems, or get Kudus to do something.
Maybe it's the plan for now, you know, until we have the players back, until we have your Kudus back, your Madas back, your Solanke back. These are all huge players for us that are missing, you know, huge players. So look, going as far and saying Frank is a fraud, I think that's a bit harsh, you know, after the job he'd done at Brentford and the fact that we're 4th in the league and 4 points out of 6 in Champions League through to the next round in the Carabao. So yeah, let's all take a breath, Spurs fans, and just try and give this guy, because he's a good manager. He's got a squad that can do something. Just need to build on it, add to it, and keep the faith, guys. Keep the faith.
Ron says he has to start next game. End of discussion. He's the only midfielder who can keep the ball at his feet. And he's talking about Archie Gray. He's talking about there was obviously a little clip of his cameo yesterday. I would start him next game because against Doncaster he was good. Came on against Bodo and impacted the game well. So I want to see him get some. I want to see him start because I think him, Palinia, and Chavy could have a good balance. There could be a good balance there.
Yeah, no, I really agree, Sim. I want to see a lot more of Archie week in, week out. We got to be careful though with these youngsters as well, not putting too much pressure on them. You know, if you, especially up at Leeds where you know he's got a history. So yeah, it would be nice to see him in the squad. But if he's not in there and in the starting 11. But if he's not in there and he comes off the bench to impact the game, I'd also be happy with that. But he does need a lot more minutes this season. We need to help his progression as much as possible. And you don't progress unless you're playing. You know.
Tack says. Alex fan says we've low-key had 2 good games this season, City and West Ham. Burnley was pretty good. PSG was good. Brighton, I thought we played quite well. We were unlucky in that game. I would say Brighton we played fairly well.
But City and West Ham were our best games.
Yeah, City and West Ham. I think definitely City. West Ham even, we weren't that good until the red card, I felt. But
well, Sim, you know what? I was there, and I think we should have been 1-0 ahead in that first half. You know, if VAR wasn't there,
true.
I think we were brilliant. I thought we were brilliant against West Ham away, and the red card helped us, of course. But I think we were always winning that game.
Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, we're still so early on. He's only had 8 games, so it's not like you're talking about a load of games. I think that's a bit harsh. Tack says how not to defend in pairs, and this is the first goal. If you look at the first image, you make it bigger. You look at this. So before we go to the next image, like what the last thing you expect from here, you've got Porro there, you've got Johnson covering, right? The last thing you expect is this guy here be able to cut inside, right, and shoot. He's got 2 players on him, right? Go to the next image. Where are they gone? All of a sudden, he's got a free shot. And how has that happened? Because that guy overlapping to his left, he's drawn both of them. They've both gone with him. They both went with him.
It's terrible defending.
How? It is absolutely terrible. How have they allowed that to happen?
It's shambolic defending. If he I can't even.
How is he being allowed to get a free shot from that situation? It's bonkers.
It's bananas, and he's made it look so easy as well. Just shift it back onto your right, and boom! It's really, really poor defending.
You got literally 2 defenders on him, or 2 players there, and he's somehow been allowed to get a free shot. Look, he's got all the time in the world to shoot. Right? It seems no one near him. All of a sudden, within a second,
no one near him. Really poor.
So Coy's Confidential says, so he's replying to Spurs Watch. He says, poor performance so far. People can moan about Frank, but the real issue is the squad. We just don't have the quality to compete on all fronts. Odegaard and Johnson starting on the wings in the Champions League says it all. Too many average players like Bentancur and Richarlison, and instead of fixing it, we hand out new contracts. So he's going very hard in on the squad. Coy's Confidential replies, where was his energy when Ange had half his squad injured? Ange literally won the European trophy with starting 11 today. With the starting 11 today. Meanwhile, Frank can't beat Bodo with the same squad, and Chavy and Palinia and Kudus, and we're protecting him. Are we serious? Look, as much as I'm a big Ange advocate, I'm a big fan of Ange. At least with Frank, we're a lot tougher to beat. I think that's fair to say. We've only lost 1 game. And he's still very early on in his tenure. It's not about protecting him. It's about just giving him a bit of leeway because it's still very early on. Albeit, what I would say is the fact that Ange did so well early on was held against him. You know what I mean? Because we won those first 10 games. Then all of a sudden, then we had a bit of a drop-off. And everyone kind of just... Every stat you would see was, oh, without the first 10 games, look at this, look at that. It's almost like the first 10 games didn't count because we did well. But all of a sudden, only because we're not doing... Well, look, to be fair to Frank, I can't complain about the results, can I? Because the results have been quite good, as much as some of the performances haven't been great. Results have been pretty good so far, albeit, Wolves we drew. Yesterday we drew, but by and large, we've been okay.
Sim. I don't know about good. I would say okay. Well,
1 loss, 5 wins, and 2 draws in 8 games.
Yeah, but 1 point from 6 at home is really not good enough. That's like below par, way below par. And from PSG, like the position we were in that game to then go and lose it, also really stung. So it's look. Of course, we need to give him a bit of leeway. And it's not all. What you said there with these 2 guys. It's not all about the squad isn't good enough. The squad has been improved since Frank's come in.
And I know he's had injuries, but not to the extent that Ange had to deal with last season.
Oh, nothing like it. Nothing like it at all. So. Yeah,
we were playing a back 5 of Forster, Gray, Davis, for half the season. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But look, this isn't to relitigate the Ange thing. It is what it is. We've got Frank now, and I think I'm happy with Frank. I'm happy with Frank because no one's protecting him. I think, which it's just the beginning of his tenure. He's not going to be perfect straight away. He's got to take a bit of time. It's not to say We had, it's a 2-year, 3-year process, and we can't judge him until it's 2 or 3 years down the line. I don't agree with that as well, but I'm not. Obviously, you got to judge him, but he's at the moment results are okay, performances got to be improved, but he's got to give him time to work all these things out. It's not going to happen overnight. So
give him time and give him the resources. You can't look at that attack. You can't look at that attack and be like, oh yeah, we can, win Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues with that attack.
But on the flip side, you can't look at that attack and say you shouldn't be able to go to Bodo and at least have a bloody shot.
Exactly, Sim. Yeah. Exactly. So, that's exactly the point. So so the truth is somewhere there in the middle with regards to where the blame lies. But I also think this whole blame game is part of the problem we have at our club. We're always looking for someone to blame. We're always looking for a scapegoat, and I think football is such a team sport that it's not about looking for scapegoats and looking for blame, and it's actually about unity. It's actually about bringing the club, the players, the manager, the board, everyone together for what we want to achieve.
And instead of just pointing out problem, yeah, exactly. That's also true. And instead of just finding problems, you got to be looking at solutions. You know what I mean? And that's why I feel like people just love to throw problems, and it's all about managers. That's all they got to deal with is problems after problem. That's what management's about. But the solutions is what they're paid for.
And that's what I'm looking for Frank, Sim. This is my assessment of him. That like when I see that he's getting the team sheets right, that he's getting us over the line in big games. For me, Leeds, Villa, Everton, these are. If he even manages to get 6-7 points out of those games, for me, that's a success. That's a success. Let's be realistic. So be patient, give him time, and we made the decision. I think it was a very harsh decision, extremely harsh decision to get rid of Ange. I know many will disagree with me on that. And I think it sets actually a really poor precedent because you're sacking somebody who brought you the most glory you've had in 41 years. So it's that's the worry for me. You're setting. So what does keep a manager in his job? Do you know what I mean? Does Frank keep his job if we get 5th and no trophy for the next 2-3 seasons?
Probably, yeah.
Right? But that's not as successful as Ange in 2 seasons.
I know, but look, I agree. We've gone over it so many times on this channel about whatever it, but I agree with you. But at the end of the day, that's the direction. And also, I don't even know who to blame for sacking him anyway because Levy's gone. So I don't know who I can even be angry at the fact they made that decision. You know what I mean? So
that was him and the board that made the decision. So
yeah. I guess you can still blame at the board. Michael Bridge. Oh, sorry, not Michael Bridge. Kiz10 says, Bodo away. I used to know a guy. There we go. I feel like he's gonna come back with a vengeance like that teddy bear from Toy Story 3 when we play them in December.
Oh,
he is going to do everything to win that game, ain't he? I wouldn't be surprised.
And you know what? He might even get it over. They done us last year at home, so.
Well, obviously, I think Ange beat Frank twice last year, even in our worst moment. Did the double over
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So.
Michael Bridge says, Bodo 2-2. This is his kind of takeaways. A point away, not a disaster after a poor 60 minutes. Kudus and Palinia, first team essentials. I agree with that. They've become nearly undroppable at this point because we seem to fall apart a bit without them. Archie Gray deserves a start against Leeds. Agree with that. Forward line, not up to standard. Yeah, I think they need to be showing more, our forward line. But you got to remember, Slanky, Moani, they're still to come back. So hopefully when them two are back, we can start to see a bit more. Still early days. No Solanke, Decky, Madders must be mentioned. Van de Ven liked being captain, and we miss Romero. Yeah, I think that Romero quality, definitely we missed it. But yeah, I think I agree with most of those points. for me. But yeah, we're very. It's quite worrying how reliant we are on Kudus Palinia, considering they've only just joined, and we seem so reliant on them.
And Chavy.
Chavy
Chavy's
as
like,
well.
we can't create anything without
And
Chavy.
he hasn't even played yet, and we can't even play without him.
Yeah.
Jay Andrew says, we are resilient little buggers anyway. Coming back from 2-0 down against Brighton and Bodo and Wolves, that's definitely a plus. It's a long season. No need to shoot your load too early. I have questions about Frank's attacking patterns, but I'm going to give him plenty of time to work it out. Yeah, it's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. You got to give him time. You know, a job of a manager can't be. It's not, you know, it's not magic. It's not a little potion that suddenly you get things right. Things do take time, and you have to give the guy time, and as well a few windows to get what he needs, the tools that he needs into the club. So yeah, let's just give Frank a bit of time. But also, that's not, you know, we've also been critical of Frank here today I think in a fair way, Sim, you know, and I think, you know, he will also be looking at some of his decisions that he's made and you know, we'll be looking at them and trying to improve them. That for me was the proof was at the City game, you know, where he didn't take off big players, even though we were a couple of goals ahead, like against Paris. So, you know, he will get there, Sim. We just need to be patient with the guy, support the team, get behind the team, get behind the players, get behind the club, let's create an atmosphere. One of the things I wanna just mention here quickly, Sim, is that, you know, sometimes the atmosphere in the stadium can go a bit flat, and that's not what we need. We need to make that place a fortress that teams do not want to go there.
Yeah,
teams do not want to go there. They and you know, we make it too easy. It's too much of an easy day out. Too much of an easy day out.
And just lastly, this was a scene after Bodo scored with their fans getting their window outside of the house celebrating. That's exactly what we were up against yesterday. Fans out of their windows celebrating. That's how small the ground is. That's exactly kind of what we were up against. And that guy, look at this guy bottom right. What a beard that is. I don't think you can zoom in on him. That is
let me see. I can't see.
That is a crazy beard. I've only just noticed it. Bloody hell. That is
mate, that's a Viking. That's proper Viking.
That is one hell of a beard, that. Unbelievable.
That's at least, I'm gonna guess 5-6 years.
You reckon?
Yeah. I've got a bit of knowledge when it comes to beard growing.
Unbelievable. We're just gonna try and get a zoom in on it. Look at
what
that.
A legend.
Look
at that.
Fair play to him. Fair play to him.
Bro, he's keeping that combed as well. He's combing that shit, man. He's getting that looking good. I like that.
All right, look. That is the reacts, and that's how the internet reacted to the game yesterday against Bodo. And that is the stream. Appreciate your time, Amir. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate you always jumping on stream. We'll see you tomorrow. As we got a weekend to preview and a few other bits and pieces as well. So we're going to be back here in the studio tomorrow. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining the stream. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.